Today, we will look at a situation where the failure analysis and mitigation plan use concepts from a first-year engineering course. This failure analysis is inspired by real events, but is entirely fictional. I changed all details so we can focus on the core engineering issues and strategies. In this situation, there is a circuit board powered by an external power supply. Due to a solder bridge caused by a manufacturing defect, some boards exhibited a soft short between power and ground connections. This short caused the boards to heat up to the point of causing physical discomfort to those that touched the location of the soft short. While the problem was being root caused, there was an investigation launched to determine what the maximum temperature rise that this short could cause. If it was above the circuit board's glass transition temperature, it could cause the boards to melt. Even if it was below that temperature, it is prudent to ensure that such a short could not cause burns to any operators. Let's say you were tasked with finding the max temperature rise due to the soft short. What would you do? You could use an affected board, but how could you guarantee that different conditions couldn't cause a larger temperature rise? Maybe you replace the soft short location with a very low resistance connection to maximize the short circuit current. You try this, but it actually reduces the temperature rise. What's going on? Let's start with a simplified circuit diagram. In the dashed gray box, we have our power supply model. This model is a voltage source VTH with a series resistance RTH. The series resistance prevents the power supply from supplying infinite current in the event of a short circuit. Outside the box, we have a load resistance RL. This is the resistance of our soft short. Assuming that the temperature increase is proportional to the power dissipated, if we want to maximize the temperature increase of the short location, we want to maximize the power delivered to said short. Let's write some equations. V equals IR and P equals IV. We want to relate how VTH, RTH, and RL affect the power dissipated in RL, which I will notate as PL, power delivered to the load. PL is equal to the current through RL, IL, squared, times the resistance, RL. Because we have a voltage source in series with two resistances, we can calculate IL as shown. Combining these two equations, we get the power dissipated in RL as a function of VTH, RL, and RTH. In our case, VTH and RTH are going to be constant, so the only way to change the power dissipated in RL is to change the resistance of RL. When we plot PL versus the ratio of RL to RTH, we obtain the following curve. This curve is interesting, as there's an obvious peak when the ratio of RL to RTH is 1, or in other words, when RL equals RTH. Why is this? First, let's go back a step and look at our equation. When RL is 0, even though we're maximizing the current through RL, the power dissipated in RL is 0 watts. When RL increases, we maximize the voltage across it, but again, the power dissipated is 0 watts, as the current is 0 amps. From our earlier plot, we saw that if RL is chosen correctly, we can maximize the power dissipated. How could we prove this mathematically? And for a given VTH and RTH, what is the maximum power that could be delivered to RL? If you have taken calculus, you may recall that you can get the maxima of a function by calculating its derivative and setting it equal to 0. Technically, you should also calculate the second derivative and evaluate endpoints as well, but I'm going to skip those steps in this video. However, feel free to try that on your own. We will take our load power dissipation equation and differentiate it with respect to RL, and find the values of RL that cause the results to be 0. We have dPL, dRL, as we want to see what the effect a change of RL has on the value of PL. As your PL equation has RL in the numerator and denominator, we have to invoke the quotient rule. And if you're wondering, yes, I had to look it up. When I was a student, I was always scared of the quotient rule until I simply started writing everything out as shown. From there, it's simply plugging in the calculated values of f of x, g of x, and their associated derivatives. Now we're left with a fairly large equation. But remember, our goal is to find a value of RL that causes the equation to equal 0. One shortcut we can take is to consider just the numerator, as if the numerator equals 0, the entire equation equals 0. Moving through the algebra, eventually we get RL equals RTH. This agrees with our original plot, where visually the maximum PL is when RL equals RTH. We can also plot PL on a semi-log x scale, where we can see that the function is logarithmically symmetric. That is, the power dissipated in RL is the same if RL is x times larger or x times smaller than RTH. For example, with VTH equals 1 volt and RTH equals 1 ohm, PL equals around 82 milliwatts for RL being 1/10 of an ohm or 10 ohms. Going back to our original circuit, we can also calculate the maximum power that could be delivered to a load resistance. This and the math behind it are the basics of the maximum power transfer theorem. If you want to take this concept further, you can also apply it to complex impedances, where RL is the complex conjugate of RTH to achieve max power transfer. I'll leave that derivation to you. The steps are similar, but instead of RTH and RL, use ZTH and ZL, where Z is an impedance equal to a real resistance and an imaginary reactance. Going back to our original situation, if you want to cause the largest temperature rise in the short location, you're going to need to match the output resistance of the power supply. If the power supply is set at 5 volts and has an output impedance of 5 ohms, the max power dissipated by the load is 1.25 watts. From there, you can calculate the temperature rise using thermal resistance values, or you could simply use a thermocouple to directly measure the temperature rise. If you naively used a small resistance as possible, you would maximize the power delivered from the power supply, but all that power would be dissipated internally to the supply, not on the circuit board. Because any linear circuit can be transformed into a Thevenin equivalent, a voltage source in series with an impedance, the maximum power transfer theorem can apply to many different situations. It is probably most useful when dealing with antenna system design, where impedances can and should be matched for a multitude of reasons. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm honestly amazed by everyone's support. I didn't expect to get so many positive comments, and I really appreciate them. I have an upcoming video series idea that uses audience participation, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for watching.